Thinking about starting a podcast? Let me show you the exact way of how to get good podcast guests that your audience will love. And here's an important thing. You don't want any guests. You want to invite those that will help you to host an interesting episode so people will like it. Those who have authority in their niche. And that would be great if they already have an audience so they could share your episode with everyone. Even if you find a person with who you will have a good interview, that's already good. However, I'll show you how you can find people that will benefit your podcast in all of those 3 ways. Hi, my name is Marina Barayeva, and on this channel we'll talk about how to build your business and personal brand. The first thing you want to do is to make a list of those people who you would want to interview. And here I encourage you to think about those whose work you like, who you follow on internet, whose book you like, anyone who inspires you. And it doesn't matter if the person is very popular or you think they're unreachable. Just give it some time. You will find the way how to connect with them later and then how to invite them for the interview. You can also search the internet and see what people would you be interested in interview or the topics that are interesting to you, and then you find the guests who may cover these topics. So 2 things, people who you're interested in and topics that you are interested in, and then people who can cover those topics. The next step, split them into 3 categories. The first one will be the top people, the influencers, those people who probably you won't be able to reach right now. The second group of people, also maybe knowledgeable experts or other well-known people in your industry who are not that famous as the top influencers, but still they might be a little bit difficult to reach. And then the third category are the people who you easily can reach to, maybe you know them already, or maybe you communicated with them somehow, or those who are maybe not that famous as the previous 2 categories. Maybe they're bloggers, content creators who starting building the expertise and personal brand, but not that famous yet. Or any regular people who you want to interview. So if you are in the beginning of your journey, start with the last category of people. Those who you easily can reach to, or those who are more approachable and then more likely will tell yes to you. But also, if you know someone in the B category or A category, the first one, the top one, feel free to reach them out too. Your task is to start with someone. Once you start publishing your episodes and you will get more and more experts, that will be easier for you to invite more well-known guests. Now, once you get familiar with how to invite people for the interview and how to approach these people, you may start looking at the more well-known influencers. And then I would suggest you to, again, from even well-known influencers, pick one person who is even easier to reach. That can be someone who freely communicates on social media, or often on the podcast, or on other blogs, or mentioned in popular articles. Those people value the publicity, and when you reach them out, they will look at your podcast, see that you already had other experts, and that your podcast may bring them to the people who might be interested in their message. They're more likely will say yes to your interview, and then that will be a door for you for a lot of other people in that community. I'll give you an example. For my podcast, Marketing for Creatives, I talk about business, marketing, social media marketing. I talk about speaking and all of those under one podcast, but I can split it into different categories, and people in those community know each other better. So I thought if I will find someone, as I just recommended you, someone well known in those communities, will that help me to reach out to others? And that worked perfectly. I'm a big fan of Michael Porter's book, Steal the Show, and then Book Yourself Solid. There are 2 books which are fantastic and I recommend you to read them. I like his content and he was in my list of people who I would want to interview. But also he is the person who is quite known in the speaking community, and he has the workshops about public speaking. So a lot of good people, good speakers knows him. I reached out to him and he said no. That happens sometimes. But he introduced me to Walt Hampton, who represent his company, and we got the interview with him. That was an amazing interview. And if you're interested on how to get booked sold or get more clients, I recommend you to listen to that episode. I put the link to it in the descriptions below. And then when I got Walt on my podcast, if people know Michael Port, they of course know Walt Hampton. And then I started reaching out people in their community. They have their instructors, they have their students, and if someone mentions Michael Port's book or Walt Hampton, I knew that probably if I send them the interview and if I show them that I interviewed Walt Hampton, more likely they will become my guest. And if you want to invite more influencers to your show, make sure that you watch this video with the tips on how to get influencers involved. I use those tactics to get in touch with the top people in the industry. Now, once you define who you want to interview, it's a good start and you can start bringing those people in. But then think about on which conferences they already presented. You can go to that conferences and check them out. So here's what we're gonna do. As I mentioned, I talk about social media marketing. Well, that's marketing and business related topic. So it's just obvious to go and look for the perfect podcast guest on social media marketing world. So I open their website for the next year and I go to the speakers tab to see all the speakers listed for the next year. Now, if you've been listening to my podcast, you will notice that many people in this list were there. Let's say Viveka von Rosen, Subi Zimmerman, Jen Herman, Lou Mangello. I can just scroll on and on. And there are people who will be new for the next year, but also they repeat many speakers from the previous years. So if, for example, this year I'll look through the old speakers, at least those who I want to interview, and I invited them, they had the interesting interviews. Next year, I can come back to the same conference and check the new faces. When I found someone who I think would be a good guest, I just send them the email and then tell them that I interviewed other people that I think that they may be either familiar with or even know personally. So look through the all conferences which are related to your topic. If you talk about the business, then there can be conferences for business and about the entrepreneurship, marketing. All of them will have people that you can easily invite for your podcast. By the way, if you learn new things, please like this video, share with your friends, and subscribe to our channel. Also, click that bell on the side so you'll get notified about the new videos. The next place where you can easily find many amazing guests is the Amazon bestsellers list. I'll go to Amazon and have them list all the best-selling products there. In the main category, I choose books, and now I have all the best-selling books. I can easily reach out to the authors. And you see, you have the categories which you can pick related to the topic of your podcast. For example, I talk about business and marketing. I can choose the category business and money. And then I got best-selling books. Well, right now I wouldn't probably reach out to the top books. Well, I would try if I would be interested in that. But if you're in the beginning of podcasting journey, then I wouldn't go for this. I would scroll a little bit lower and see what is there. What are those people who you may interview? You have the name of the book, the authors. You see number 11 is Alan Deep. He was on my podcast. Maybe you would want to interview James Clear, or maybe someone else, Brené Brown, Jim Quick. Jim released his book just a few months ago. It's relatively new. And here's what you could do. This is our next step. here we have the bestsellers book, which are already published, but you also can go to the upcoming book releases category and see what authors, what people are going to publish their books very soon. Because what happened, every author who writes the book, by the time the book is published, they look for more publicity. They start marketing the book few months before the book is actually published. For that, we'll go up, then we'll go to books, and then scroll a little bit down. We need to filter the search result. You see, show search results for coming soon. These are the books which are going to be published, you see, released on August 4th, released on August 4th, and so on. There are plenty of books. Again, on the left side, you have the categories where you can choose the topics which are more interesting to you. I can again go to business and money. And I got the list of all books which are going to be published soon, maybe in a couple of months, maybe in a month. Now, I have the name of the book, the date of the release, and the name of the authors. Some books have two authors. You can reach either one of them or both. It's up to you. Scroll down and see which topics are more interesting for you and which of those can be more useful for your audience. Under the title of each book, there is the name of the author. You can just copy it and paste in Google to search for the website of the author. Then you find their email and send them your pitch, invite them for your interview. And then the last way to find interesting guests for your podcast is actually ask the guests which you already interviewed. When you finish the interview, you might ask them if they know someone who they think might be interested in being a guest on your podcast. Here's one thing. From all of my experience, I prefer to ask these people who interview I like. If you had an interesting conversation with a guest, then more likely they know other people who are that confident and with kind of the same level of experience. Sometimes I have, honestly, a little average conversation, or I'm kind of pulling out the information from my guest. Several times I asked them to introduce me to other people, and the result was like that. Not that good. I also had to bring all the information out from people. I prefer those who talk and openly share their experience. That way it's easier to have the interview and it's more natural. It's like a conversation which you want to repeat. And if you know someone, then you can ask to introduce them via email. Once you create a list of guests and topics you want to cover, you need to invite those people to your podcast. Watch this video where I share how to reach out to the podcast guests and I give a script of exactly what to write in the email you send them.